In a market where your options for owning a Nintendo NES Classic come down to paying $250 to a scalper on eBay or finding a third-party solution, it helps to have a third-party solution that's actually badass.
Welcome to the channel. This is Techno Scope.
The OB202 by Obihai connects to Google Voice to give you free phone service anywhere you have a broadband connection. Click the video card above or visit the link in the description below for the full review. The NESPi by Retroflag is technically just a case for the Raspberry Pi. However, it is by far the best imitation of an NES Classic I've ever seen. In many ways, it's actually better than the official NES Classic. More on this later. The NESPi is a complete solution case which takes the form factor of the mini Nintendo Entertainment System and merges it with a Raspberry Pi. The case maintains the 4 USB ports of a Raspberry Pi, giving you 2 on the right side imitating controller ports and 2 under the functioning faux cartridge door. Next to the 2 hidden USB ports is an Ethernet port, a welcome addition for moving large amounts of data or setup prior to Wi-Fi configuration. The right side of the case features an easy to access slot for the micro SD. On the rear, we have the micro USB port for power, the HDMI port, and the audio jack for analog audio output. On the bottom of the unit is a removable cover similar to the one the genuine NES was built with. However, in this situation it's used for storing micro SD cards instead of routing wires. The assembly of the unit is easy and very straightforward. I recommend checking the functionality and operation of everything before inserting the screws to hold the case together. You'll first take the Raspberry Pi and insert both the Ethernet and USB pigtails into the side as shown in the instructions. Next, you'll position the Raspberry Pi into place, inserting the HDMI and audio ports at an angle, and then laying the board flat in the case. At this point, take the fan power header and place it onto the GPIO connector as shown in the instructions. Take care to get this step right, as doing it wrong could possibly destroy the Raspberry Pi. Take the 2 black screws included with the case and use them to mount the Raspberry Pi to the case. I highly recommend using heat sinks on the Raspberry Pi. In such a small enclosure, it could easily overheat. Parts for everything in this build, including optional parts, are in the video description below. If you're installing an optional fan, take your fan and insert it into the case with the label side down. This will draw air from the top opening and blow it directly onto the CPU and heatsink. For this build, I am using a 12 volt 30mm Evercool fan that's 10mm thick. The Raspberry Pi only supplies 5 volts, but unless you enjoy fan noise, you don't want it spinning at full speed. Unfortunately, I searched for hours and never found a 30mm fan with high review ratings. I typically use premium fans in my builds, but I don't believe such a fan exists. This fan is rated at 8,000 RPM at 12 volts, but with a 5 volt supply, it's likely much closer to 4,000. Unless you're very close to the fan or in an extremely silent room, you likely won't hear it while it's running. To give you an idea of how it sounds, with my office as quiet as possible, here's the fan noise at 10 centimeters. With the audio gain at the same level, here's the fan noise at 1 meter. Setup of RetroPie is fairly easy and straightforward, but because it is a video of its own, I will simply link to the tutorial I used below. There are some things you may want to consider. I did not keep the USB drive inserted internally. RetroPie does not use additional storage by default. Also, unless you plan to do mid-tier Linux tinkering, you will want to use a 32GB or smaller micro SD that can be formatted in FAT32. Using third-party software, it is possible to format a 64GB card in FAT32, but your results may vary. Your controller options are pretty much anything that will connect to a PC, including Xbox and PlayStation controllers. I've read the Xbox One wireless dongle does not work, but using a USB cable directly to the controller will. I used an Xbox 360 wired controller to set up RetroPie, but I replaced it with 2 Bluetooth 8-bit Do NES30 Pro pads to complete the look. Comparing the NESPi to the official Nintendo NES Classic, we see the NESPi, except for the logo on front, is truer to the NES design than what Nintendo produced. The NES Mini is slightly lighter gray, but I don't have a production NES to compare the color. It should be noted the color of the controllers match the NESPi exactly. In both width and depth, the NES Classic is slightly bigger than the NESPi. The best part of a developer-created community, such as Raspberry Pi, is the never-ending possibilities. RetroPie is ready to go out of the box, but if you'd like to tinker with it, feel free to do so. There are many custom RetroPie images on the internet that completely change the look and functionality you see on your screen. The best part is you can save them to different cards, meaning what you do to one will not affect another. It should be noted, while you can use pretty much any USB power supply that provides enough power, underpowering the Raspberry Pi will result in a small lightning bolt appearing in the top right corner. When you underpower a computer, data corruption and other bad things tend to happen. I recommend using the power supply in my affiliate links below. And finally, unlike the NES Classic, which was custom made from the bottom up, the NESPi is only one use case scenario for a Raspberry Pi. While the NESPi case may have a power button on it, you will want to use the built-in shutdown feature before powering off whenever possible. Failure to do so can cause data corruption or failure to save your save states. Also, at times I noticed the Raspberry Pi did not always completely power off. It turns out the return voltage over HDMI in some cases is enough to keep the power LED on when the NESPi is off. Nothing to worry about. I hope you enjoyed this video. This was a fun project for me, but the next project will be even better. Spam that like button, and if you're already subscribed, don't forget to turn on post notifications. My name is Elemento. Stay tuned for more videos from Technoscope.
Technoscope is a Twisted Curve production.